Welcome back to Tools and Track.
Welcome back to Tools and Track and fuel leaks.
Many fuel leaks. It seems to be a recurring theme.
Yep.
Relentless fuel
With
leaks.
you particularly, I don't think it's been a problem with me ever yet.
No, there's something about me that I just don't know how to sort a fuel line.
So the gloves are out once again.
The gloves are on, and I'm going to go on a Roman adventure hunting out Fuel Caesar. I've had a look underneath at what's dripping when we prime the fuel system, and positively enough, it's nothing that I've actually worked on. Annoyingly enough, this means I've not changed enough rotted out fuel lines. Honestly, I could see no hole when I did all these fuel lines, so why I've got a leak in return line, I'll not know until we chop it out and find it.
Does this involve a grinder?
No!
I'm glad to hear it. Well, I was just checking that you weren't. Look at those pedals, man. Aren't those a tragedy?
What I've done here is disconnect the return line.
Okay.
We should have enough slack.
Oh, there's fuel coming out.
So what I'm going to have to do here, which probably isn't quite clear, we did this patch repair for the fuel feed line, which is holding and not leaking. This is the fuel return and that's the vent. The fuel return line somewhere down there is leaking. If it's leaking, it's dead, so it needs to come out. So we're not using an angle grinder, obviously. I say obviously, I've done stupider things, let's be fair.
I don't think you've used an angle grinder next to a petrol leak before. I thought this was quite cool viewers when I first saw it, and you know, running the fuel lines through the car to stop them getting sheared when the car's doing rally work, which is what it was built for. But I now realise it's just a monumental pain in the arse.
We have to go back to the bloody petrol station and buy more. 10 litres is completely rinsed.
Look on the bright side, it's only 15.48. Oh! You alright?
Yeah.
So that's a pressurised fuel line there. Health and safety is the #1 priority on Tools and Track. Let me tell you about my new car, since Tommy's away fixing himself. This is it. I had the BM for a while, as you know, and I got bored of that quickly. I'm going to stand in here because nobody will hear anything. Sold the BMW because it was great, but it wasn't an M BMW, not a real M2. Open diff and stuff, and I just didn't deal with it. So then I briefly had the MX-5, which we changed the engine on and did the whole de-rusting. And then the second engine started drinking oil and I just went a huff with it and sold it. And then I found this guy. So we bought an EV for my wife, which is, you know, eco and cool and free to run and all that good stuff, but it doesn't do long journeys. So I needed something we could pack the family into, but also wasn't boring. Enter the Infiniti G37X. It is a 4-door saloon with the engine from a Nissan 370Z, otherwise known as the VQ37HR. It has the 4-wheel drive Atessa system from the GTR R34 and a 7-speed automatic transmission with paddles. So there you go, I hope this was a nice wee interjection whilst we wait on Thomas washing petrol off his face. And he seems to be back at it.
Aye, the thing about petrol is it's not a very good moisturiser.
You've got to envy Thomas's ability to fix cars. All this rust is going to get dealt with in due course because he has sheet steel and the ability to weld and the commitment to spend many hours doing so. We were talking earlier on about what we all might buy, Craig, Thomas and I think I'd just have a fleet of fast Fords like old Sierras, Escorts. Alas, I can't weld and I don't have any sheet steel.
So what I've done here is pull all this kerfuffle out the way. I've isolated the line that we're going to work on, which is the fuel return. We'll get to why this is leaking in a minute. And this here is how we deal with it. A pipe cutter. So you just spin this cow around, and with every rotation, tighten it up.
Oh, there's Craig. You sneaking in for a wee biscuit?
I did look at them.
Literally just got 4 or 5 shots of Craig walking out the door.
And Scarlet Pimpernel of Tools and Track. This is a fuel return line. The wee rubber bit that passes through the car normally lives there. Now the fuel feed line crumbled, so we knew for a fact that that was dead. But what I have completely missed is that our fuel is leaking out of this rubberised section of pipe. And all this rubberized section of pipe does is insulate it from clattering off other pipes. But it also traps a whole load of dirt, a whole load of salt, and causes the pipe to rot. See it?
Yep, there it is.
Tiny little pinhole.
Pressurised fuel, out it comes.
So let's replace this.
So we're on the road again. Where are we going this time?
Oh, a place that I don't relish having to visit. It's Mordor for petrol heads.
Halfords. We need Jubilee clips because fuel lines. You feeling better?
Aye. Aye. Do you know what would make me feel great?
What would make you feel great?
Coffee.
Aye, I'll get the kettle on when we get in.
I could be coffee. Oh. It's good when your daily driver, the car that you drive every day, the one that's meant to be sensible, has to go up curbs at an angle because it's so.
But see if the car just worked, what would we moan about?
I don't know. Hippies. Goddamn hippies. Right. As we edge ever further and gradually down the list, it's starting to smell a lot like car running soon. However, there's a big thing still on the list that we need to deal with: brakes. Now, I've got many brakes for many projects lying around this garage, and clearly I've lost a caliper somewhere because all I've got is the carrier, but it shouldn't be too hard to find because it's this fetching neutral and definitely not in your face shade of bright yellow. That won't be lasting long. But we're going to strip down these stock rears and just give them a quick tart up and get them good for use again. Why we're not going Tonto on it? Spiralling costs, if I'm being honest. I know that the rears being single pots, they'll work fine. There's no real reason to go mental with twin pots considering the price of them for the very limited benefits they're going to provide. I will, however, put at least a new set of pads on. But first off, we need to make sure these are going to work. Now, top on the list, we're probably going to have to deal with this bolt. That looks a bit shonk. How to get sliders out? Well, there's I'm sure a million different methods for doing this, but the simplest one I found is just brute force. Grab the slider somewhere that's fairly sympathetic and a vise. Grab it on the flat part, of course. There's no point making it worse than it already is. As you can see, it does move, which is positive. Let's try that time. Well, give it its due. It felt tight, but it's actually coming out okay. The rubber part's alright as well. Yeah. A little bit of schmutz in it, but it'll clean up alright. That's good. Yeah, these have definitely been giving us issues. They should not be that tight under any circumstances. As we'll take these retaining clips out of the way, clean everything down, make sure it's all greased and good to go, and most likely reuse them with a new set of pads. Well, let's carry on getting the rest of this stuff out. Nope. It doesn't feel good. We can pronounce this thing dead on arrival. It's just too far gone. If this is seized in here, there's a pretty good chance that the bore that this piston runs in is going to have significant amounts of corrosion on it. Now, we could try and save this, and many people would. And yes, we are running low on budget. But one thing I really don't want to scrimp on is brakes. We will be going for a replacement unit. But we'll be doing the same on the other side. Place bets now. I did wonder when this would happen. So our last slider is seized. Typical. So, in order to get this guy out, we're going to do what we thought we were doing earlier on, which is to mount it in the vise, and then start gradually giving it the back and forth to try and free it off. Oh, if at first you don't succeed, make that glow white, weld 2 further nuts onto the top, and then be very gentle with it. And I'm still going to have to buy a slider. So, Tools and Track Subaru top tip. This is the handbrake shoe, the new one. This is the old shoe to cable lever. Lever gets pulled, cable pulls that, pushes the shoe out. You'll note that I'm fitting this despite buying a full kit to adapt and, you know, fit the car, because the full kit doesn't come with that. You can buy, in addition to the full kit with the shoes and all the springs and all the other kit, that is an extra which goes on here, but nowhere can you buy this. So I'm really glad that I've been able to clean that up and transfer it on, except I can only do it in one because I've binned the other shoes. So, yay! Well, that's a significant reduction to our list. As you can see, we've still got stuff up the top that I've not really got round to because it's the front of the car and the back of the car's in the air. I've left brake lines on, I haven't tested them yet, so I don't know if we're fully done with that. All this stuff has gone. I've left diff oil on, obviously, because we're not built it up yet. That takes us to what? Suspension and brakes. Let's discuss suspension. So as far as I can make out, the suspension that's on this car is pretty much stock. It rides roughly where it should be, and it's spring and coil setup. I'll show you, it actually be easier. This is it. You honestly think I'm going to put this back in the car? Well, as it happens, yeah, I was thinking about it. It springs up and down. It was bouncing fine before we took it off. The shocks clearly work. Yeah, I get it. The amount of time and effort we put into this car to just put that back on it? Nah. We could take these apart, buff them down, paint them, put new springs on it, put new top mounts on it, blah 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 blah. Which would probably cost us, considering everything else that I bought in incremental stages for this, a fortune. Or we could just skip to the end because we all know I'm going to do this anyway because it's me. Are they good? Probably not. Were they cheap? Absolutely. Am I worried? Not the slightest. I want a bit of height adjust, I want a wee play with the car, I want it to feel good and look good. I'm not particularly fussed if these don't last, because the budget's already shot. So, if I like it on coilovers, we might buy decent ones later. If I don't, we'll go back to a set of Bilsteins on springs. But at least I get to play with it first. So let's chuck them on. Of course, the problem with putting coilovers on the rear is that you'll also need to put coilovers on the front. Oh well. Welcome to the rear brake shoes, or what's commonly known as the biggest pain in the arse since I last had to work underneath a Mini. So it's been a while, I'm pretty sure I can do this. It's like riding a bike, isn't it? You've got 2 shoes each side, they're held through wee pins and spring lock connectors, and then the whole assembly is held together with a wide variety of levers, springs and doom. So, we're going to put this guy together, I hope. I've already got the handbrake cable holding onto this guy, and a spring on the top to hold it into place. Now, It's quite footery from here on in, so I need to put the other one on here and then get it all in place with 4 hands, 18 fingers and a load of luck. There is one thing though, I will say, makes life a lot easier. Run a cable tie around the whole lot and then try and get the spring in. That helps support all the assembly and removes the need for at least 2 pairs of hands. I'm not going to film this because I don't have enough duck noises for the language I'm about to use. And also it's a bit tight in this corner and I need the space. So let's show you how the other side turned out. A bit like that. What's going on here then? Surely not. Well, no, you're right. These calipers are not going back on. What I've done at the moment is bolt them up, put a bleed on the brakes, just to make sure that all the fancy lines and everything else that I've put on here are going to hold fluid. So at least I'll know then, if the lines do hold fluid, and I take these off, it's just a case of bolting them on, putting a bleed through it, and we're golden. So the question is, are they holding fluid? Well, let's go pump the brakes up and find out. No brake fluid here, and no brake fluid here either. Let's talk about brakes and what's fast becoming a fiasco. So as you know, we've got the brake shoes sorted finally. Now it's time to look at the calipers. Now, yes, we've had issues with the carriers, and yes, I've ordered new pins so that the calipers will slide on them correctly. However, they've not arrived yet, and given the state of the calipers, I decided to order new ones. They came with carriers. That's useful, isn't it? So I thought, well, you know, chalk it up to experience, at least these will fit. Except I've lined them up to the discs, and they won't, because these are too skinny, because they're clearly for a GD and not a GC. So they're going to go back, and we're back to the original plan, which was salvage the calipers that I've got. I'm going to try, I think, to get the pistons out and get them moving and see what condition that the piston bores are in. I can't really find an obvious solution to this. And if I'm being honest, it's going to mean buying new recon, whatever the hell it is, from a motor factors, and it's probably going to end up costing a lot of money. If I can refurb what I've got, I'll just do that. The only problem is it kind of slows down the progress of the build. But further down the line, this will get resolved. Who's shooting me down? Nobody cares. I can do what I want, it's my car. Anyway, that's going to take me a while, so that's for the next episode. For the moment, thanks for watching. If you've just found this and you're into Imprezas, hit subscribe because there's plenty more clearly to come on this, because it's a never-ending saga of doom. What's happening in the next episode? Well, that disaster. That's happening in the next episode. We're going to hopefully get that chopped out and get some shiny new steel welded in. By then, I'll have hopefully dealt with the brake caliper scenario, and the back end of this will be landing on the ground. That's good, isn't it? Once that's done, we'll go back to the list and see what remains on it. But hopefully it'll be running car time soon. Anyway, Patreon's running up the side of the screen. Muchas gracias for the support. If you don't know what that's all about, patreon.com/toolsandtrack, and help support this awesome channel, I guess. That's it for me. Stay tuned. Next time, probably a low-cost update. If you haven't had a look at that, check out the other videos. We're building a car from scratch, as if this wasn't a challenge enough. And we will be back very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Yeah.
Well, the gimbal's going on a wee adventure.
That's because
I've confused it.
Yeah.
There we go. I think I've unconfused it.